GWM 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 GWM
Hello everyone and welcome to our live broadcast. I am your host, Kyle Shapiro, a guy who is an avid lover of cars, of road trips, and has a particular soft spot in his heart for off-road driving. Now today I'm excited to chat with you all about a car that has really captured my attention recently, and that is the GWM Tank 300 that we see right here. Now you know what, when I first saw the GWM Tank 300, I was really impressed with its appearance. This car is truly a great blend of both power and aesthetic. And as you can see, the front fascia, it has an imposing, rugged look, an aesthetic that blends both the classic off-road SUV styling with contemporary design cues. Together with body lines that are particularly muscular in feel, the GWM Tank 300, it just gives off a vibe of adventure-ready and raw power. And then when we open the door and we step inside, you get a chance to see how every single detail is designed with the utmost precision, providing a really balanced feeling of both luxury and practicality. So for me, driving it, it just feels super comfy while still providing me with that super important particular thrill of driving that I'm always looking for. So the feeling I get the feeling that I get is that the GWM Tank 300 is not just a vehicle. It's more of a manifestation of a lifestyle attitude. It's a lifestyle attitude of the open road. So for those of you who love off-roading and road trips and haven't tried the GWM Tank 300 yet, you really should give it a go. I guarantee that you will enjoy it. So there's something about pressing down that accelerator and feeling that nice response from the engine. It's a moment of real connection between the driver and their vehicle. Whether climbing mountains or navigating rough terrain, the GWM Tank 300 makes every drive feel like a different adventure. But have you, like me, ever thought about how this car manages to be so great? Is it because of some high-tech secret hidden within its roaring engine, or is it because its powertrain system is designed in a way that leaves everyone questioning science? So don't worry. To satisfy our curiosity, we've specially invited GWM's powertrain expert team here today. Now today, we are going to unveil these high-tech secrets together and take a closer look at the powerhouse of the GWM Tank 300, and that is its engine and its transmission. So we're not just going to listen to the experts talk, we're also going to see it and touch it for ourselves. Now imagine taking apart key components like the turbocharger and the fuel injection system and getting up and close to see how they work together seamlessly to give the GWM Tank 300 its powerful performance, its fuel efficiency, and its quiet comfort. Now this is not just a simple technical exploration. We are going to witness with our own eyes how the GWM Tank 300 demonstrates what true, tough power is on the off-road trails. As we dissect it step by step, we will get a chance to understand how the world of tough and reliable off-roading is created and provided to us. With that said and done, and with perfect timing, I now see our powertrain expert, Paul Dudek, on the scene. Welcome, Paul. Nice to see you.
Kyle. Yeah, I'm happy to be here again and to give some insights into this engine and the powertrain itself and how it all works together.
Well, it's really good to see you. Thank you for coming. Now, before we get into the powertrain, I know you're here specifically to speak about that. I see the GWM Tank 300 that we got right here behind us. Yeah. So I feel like I'd like to take this opportunity to take advantage and to walk over and take a closer look at the car itself. So why don't we head over there and take a look?
Let's go. Let's go.
So the first thing that I notice, and this is me being an off-road guy, I notice just how large the wheels are and just how high the car itself sits.
Yeah, right. So you can also see the wheelhouse clearance is really big. Mm-hmm. You can really take this vehicle off-road because you have this clearance, you have the way the spring can move.
Spring, the space, yeah.
Yes, the space. And it's really designed for going off-road. And another feature you can see down there, it is this vehicle is based on a ladder frame.
Okay.
So our tank series is all on a ladder frame. This is normally just trucks do that have that, which gives this vehicle much higher stiffness,
durability,
stiffness, loading capacity in trucks, for example. And yeah, this is really like, it's really designed to actually go off-road. It's not just looking like it can, but it
really
actually can.
So with the frame, with the height, with the wheels, with the size of the wheels, let's come on a little bit closer and take a look. With all of that, you can really, just off the bat, you just look at it and you can tell this thing is for off-road, right?
It is. And, you know, also when you mention the height, we have also, we have to make sure that we have a certain amount of wading height. So you can take this vehicle through like smaller rivers or whatever kind of deposits of water. And yeah, it really also looks really great if you take a look at the vehicle from the outside.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like what I mentioned earlier. You look at the front fascia, and it really does have that classic tough SUV look, right?
It does. It really looks very classic and beautiful and strong, and it has this traditional, let's say, traditional boxy shape.
Boxy, but also has those muscular curves that have been brought into it as well.
Yeah.
So I really love the look of it. I think this is just off the get-go, you look at it, you go, this is an off-road vehicle. This is a tough vehicle, right?
Yeah, and it lets you look at it. I think if you see it on the street, it catches your eyes, I think.
And what will also catch our eyes, and this is my transition, I feel that not just the outside of the car, but also the inside of the car is something that's really worthy to go and look at. So let's take a look inside the car.
Okay.
And the first thing that I notice is the really clean Napa leather interior. When I sit down, for everyone at home, it's such a comfortable seat. You get this feeling that it's precise, it's practical. When I'm driving this, I'm going to be comfortable.
Yeah, and you know, it's really a very cleaned up dashboard. It is luxurious, but also minimalistic in a certain sense. You have the displays. You have a relatively wide display where you can really read the instruments, and all our vehicles of the series, they have a rather wide variety of sensors. So you can display different cameras of 360-degree view, and there are also features like what we call a transparent chassis, where you can see what is below the vehicle.
And is that something that will show up on this LCD display?
Yes, that will show up on the display. And especially if you are off-roading, if you are in a terrain where there are larger rocks, where you need to make sure you're not having a collision risk, this is really helpful, which gives you, as the driver, this like 360-degree and more view of what's your situation. And also for your normal driving, like you see, like the windshield is quite close to you.
Yeah, the dashboard is very narrow.
It's very narrow. Yeah. You're very connected to the road actually, and you look down this hood with these shapes. I think it really looks amazing. It's a great experience to drive this vehicle.
That's very cool. And yes, so the leather is super comfortable. The seats are all practical. Everything is very clean. And you have really good overall vision of everything while you're driving it. So these are all real key parts about the interior. I could go on forever, but I know that you're here to talk about the powertrain system. So why don't we head on back and we can talk about that. So with that, for everyone watching that is interested in knowing a bit more about the GWM Tank 300, you're welcome to click on the link in this stream and fill out your contact info. Our team will assign you with a customer service rep who will get in contact with you and provide you with further information. Now, our team will strictly protect your information. according to regulatory policy. So don't be worried and feel free to leave us a message anytime. So, all right, Paul, let's now head on back over to here where we see the engine itself. Now, in such an era full of constant change and innovation, where many new energy vehicle models have started to emerge in the market, GWM still insists on the research and improvement of diesel vehicles. I'd like to ask about the irreplaceable value of diesel engines. Why does GWM still insist on such technology?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I think we need to highlight that Great Wall overall brands and vehicles that we provide, we try to provide to our customers anything that they might want. We have very different styles and types of cars, but we also want to give the selection of any kind of powertrain a person would like to have. So we have the conventional powertrain systems, which is gasoline and diesel engines, internal combustion engines. We have hybrids, full hybrids, plug-in hybrids, battery electric vehicles, and also hydrogen. And why do we think about the diesel engine, or why do we put in effort to develop it? Well, the diesel engine is really the workhorse of the world. If you consider it is in large ships, it's in earth-moving machine, construction machines, it's in power generators, trucks, transporters, any kind of boats we already mentioned.
Things that need a heavy load, that need to be consistently
power,
be working. Yeah.
That need power, that need load, that need reliability. And you also want to do it efficiently. So you will not find a gasoline engine in a large scale in an energy generating facility. So diesel engines are really that. They are reliable, they are proven, they have a long history of development, and we continue to develop them because we want to provide all of our powertrains to be as modern and as good as they can be, and that we have an open selection and an open competition of different technologies.
So the diesel engine, it provides everyone with the ideal situation, the ideal engine that for constant high intensity operations, high loads, and something that would need high reliability. Am I correct?
That's correct. And if you look at the engine, this really this gives you durability. You have this engine has a high torque output, and you match it with the vehicle. For me personally, I think this is the perfect match. What you want to have in an off-road vehicle or an SUV, you want to have a strong fuel economy, fuel efficient, reliable engine that has high torque and can deliver you the acceleration that you need.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like the performance of diesel engines is really impressive and really important in many different types of situations. So this performance, it truly brings a specific convenience and experience to drivers, right? Especially to those who enjoy off-road. But what about emissions for such a large engine? Can you tell me more about emissions?
Yeah, I mean, this engine, diesel engine are extremely efficient if you compare them with different conventional powertrains, but also if you would consider what we call well-to-wheel, so the source of the energy to the wheel, and you look at power generation from whatever kind of power plants for electricity, these engines are even competitive with let's say an electric vehicle when you consider where the electricity comes from. So they are very, very efficient. They are the most efficient combustion engine is the diesel engine. So to translate that into the experience of our customer, that means this one, it will be a vehicle that has low fuel consumption, and we have really put a lot of effort in optimizing the vehicles that we have a very clean combustion and therefore also low emissions. So it is environmentally friendly, but also friendly on your pocket because fuel it doesn't consume as much fuel as you would think.
Okay, so I mean, this means that in today's pursuit of lower cost and even more greener travel, diesel engines, they remain a good option for us to diversify our powertrain sources and meet these new and different global demands.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it is a global demand, you know, like there are different markets and different preferences, but the Tank 300 is a very successful vehicle in regard to sales, and we're selling it globally. And if you consider you're not living in an urban environment, more in a rural area, you would opt for a diesel engine because it has this reliability. You have the availability of the fuel, and it's just you will have no headache. While, for example, in certain areas you don't have this charging infrastructure that you would need for electric.
Vehicles, yes.
Sometimes with the plug-in hybrid, you don't have a parking space at home where you can charge. So a diesel engine is just this carefree variant that most people, I think, will appreciate.
Okay, well, what you just said, it's very refreshing to hear, actually. And knowing that diesel engines are still ever evolving at quite a fast rate, it makes me think, why can't these new diesel engines also be considered another so-called form of new energy itself, right?
Yeah.
So what you've just explained, it's let me further understand that whether it's traditional power or new energy, each technology has its own unique value, right? On the path towards innovation and sustainable development, we should embrace the new technologies, but not just give up on the good ones because they are so-called traditional, right?
That's exactly right. This is really an open competition. We live in the real world, and the diesel engine clearly has its benefits in the real world. There are drawbacks and there are benefits, and we can talk about these today.
Amazing. So if anyone out there right now is interested in knowing more about the GWM Tank 300 that we are discussing today, you can feel free to click on the link in the stream, fill in your contact information, and we will assign you a dedicated customer service rep to get in contact with you. Our team will strictly protect your information according to regulatory policy, so don't be worried and feel free to leave us a message anytime. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we are all well aware of the positive response the GWM Tank 300's diesel version has received in the market. Now, especially its highly praised powertrain system. So next up, let's go and take a look together with our expert here, Paul, and delve deeper into the unique charms and technical mysteries that lie within the engine of this model.
Okay. Well, this is an engine that really has a lot of durability, and you have strong performance and a strong power output. So we've really put a lot of work into the design. It comes, the predecessor engine is a 2.0 liter engine. We went to a 2.4 liter, so you can think about it as that's a large change that we do on the engine. And therefore, we already look basically into all the components, the different systems, how we can optimize them for this new system. And yeah, we have done a real big job on the design, and we were quite successful in it. And it's a very, very reliable engine that gives you torque and power where you really need it.
Okay, so it's really something to look forward to. So could you please elaborate on the rigorous tests that you mentioned that this engine has undergone through the testing phase? I mean, how do these tests ensure that the engine's high reliability and durability that you talk about?
All right. Well, during the development of the engine, we have two different test stages. The first one I will mention is what we do in what we call a test bench, where the engine is installed on a dyno and has a lot of sensors adapted to it, where we can control the environment relatively well. And in this one, we do a thermal shock test, 300 hours of thermal shock test on this engine. The thermal shock test is to make sure that when the engine is heated up and cooled down rapidly, it will expand and contract. So if you imagine the cylinder block and the cylinder head, there is a space in between where the head gasket is. So these expansion and contractions will put shear forces on the gasket, and this is basically a test that ensures that during its lifetime this engine will not fail for like leakages on the head gasket or any other sealings that we have. And another component that is also tested through this is the turbocharger. Because of these thermal load changes, this turbocharger has also a lot of thermal stress of heating up and cooling down, and we can also make sure through this test, if it passes this test, that this turbocharger will not show fatigue cracking, which is something we do not want at this part where we have very hot exhaust gases.
Makes sense. So
that is just the first of all these tests that we're doing. The next one is a 500-hour full speed, full load test, rated power. This is a test to ensure basically the durability of the engine under the maximum load condition. So this is the condition in which it endures the highest thermal stress and the highest mechanical stress. And these 500-hour translate to 6 times 10 to the power of 7.
Okay, wow.
Which means for a component that can withstand so many repetitive load cycles, that is what we in engineering consider lifetime durability.
So it'll just last forever, is what you're saying?
Under the condition that we keep it in its operational range.
Okay.
So if you overload it in any kind of way, that would be different, but we, on the other hand, we control the engine, that we keep it in the right area.
So you use other components of the engine to ensure that it stays within this optimal kind of environment that you would want it to stay.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of sensors that would alarm the ECU if there is some parameter out of control. So in the customer's hand, this engine will be durable and reliable. And another test that we do is a 650 hours alternative load test, in which it is also high load but also different kind of load, and we have speed and load changes of the engine to make sure that this engine also can match the transient shifts that we need to do, the operational point changes, and that it remains in a stable combustion doing this, and that we don't have fouling or deposit accumulation anywhere in the engine. This is another factor that is important for durability and longevity of the engine.
So do you guys take this on practical environmental testing too?
Yeah. This is then the second part. Once we leave the bench environment, we do road testing on the vehicle. We do like more than 70 different scenarios that you can imagine. It's like we have winter testing, we have summer testing, desert, snow, water, wading, any kind of condition, road condition, mountain condition, elevation. We try to cover all imaginable use cases for a vehicle with an engine that's supposed to be sold worldwide. And with this engine on this vehicle, we have done like more than 6 million kilometers on the test tracks, and we had exceptionally low failure rates. So this is really a very reliable engine that will deliver to our customer the power and the reliability that they were asking for.
Wow. Well, I mean, that sounds amazing. You are ensuring a reliable and long-lasting engine. So how does this engine perform in terms of heat dissipation under high temperature conditions? Because from what I know, high temperatures are one of the worst enemies when it comes to engine performance, right?
Yeah, that is true. But you know, I spoke about it earlier. We have these control parameters, and when an engine would reach a temperature that is considered too high, we will limit its power output. So this is not that the engine is going into a damage, but to prevent that.
So the thermal management system will kick in automatically.
The ECU controls lowers the power, but this is well, we want the engine to not overheat, right? So in combination with the vehicle that we have, this vehicle has a I think an 800 watts radiator fan and a relatively large radiator where we have where the coolant of the engine is being cooled down. So when you are in an off-road mode, we can pre-cool the coolant on the radiator side. Let's understand it. You're stuck in an environment. Your wheels are in a weird position. It's difficult. You're in an inclined road. Maybe one wheel is off the ground, and you're struggling to get out. So you don't have a lot of fresh air coming to the radiator to cool down the coolant. So in this condition, the fan will help to cool down the coolant, and when the engine has the need to cool down a little more, the thermostat will open, will let in the fresh coolant, and it keeps the engine in the right operation condition so that we actually can always deliver the power at the maximum condition where you are.
So that has the sensors on this must be super important, and there must be so many.
There are many sensors on this engine to maintain this the control. This is what we have to do.
And this is all essentially to just avoid the performance degradation and potential failures, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. So no matter what sort of harsh environment it's in, it is able to maintain and control itself as best as you would hope for.
Yeah, that is it. That is why we want it to be a diesel engine with a vehicle that goes off-road. It's reliable. It has the ability to really have the power always available where you need it, when you need it, in the low RPM range, and that you can rely on it. Because if you go off-road, sometimes you might be kilometers away from the next person that will help you. And so you have to rely on your vehicle, and the vehicle, this is at the heart of the vehicle, will be this engine.
Well, thank you very much, Paul, for that detailed explanation. As a driver myself, I find it extremely interesting to know about how the car I'm driving came to be. With that being said, for anyone out there that is watching right now who also wants to know more about how this car came to be, you can feel free to click on the link in the stream and leave your contact information, and our team will provide you with a customer service rep who will get in contact with you. Don't worry, because your information will be protected according to regulatory policy, so don't waste a moment and leave us a message right now and get in touch, okay? So through this educational explanation from Paul just now, I, and hopefully you too out there, have gained a much better understanding of the remarkable durability, the reliability, and the heat dissipation performance of the GWM Tank 300 Diesel's engine. This engine undoubtedly serves as a solid foundation for the GWM Tank 300 Diesel's robust power, exceptional performance. And it's also about the key to its widespread praise and acclaim in the market. Now, to get an even deeper understanding of this engine, next we will delve into its internal secrets together. So an exceptional engine must not only possess top-level durability and reliability, but also must demonstrate superior power performance. Therefore, Paul will provide a detailed interpretation of the basic components of this engine and its unique charm in terms of power performance, including the turbocharger. So, Sunle, can you help us take out the turbocharger, please? Thank you very much. So let's head on over here to the engine, Paul, and watch as Sunle takes apart the turbocharger for us. Can you please explain more to the audience about this turbocharger here?
Yeah, so it's a diesel engine. We apply turbocharger to it. We call it forced induction because we try to force more air into the cylinder than it usually would fill. And the turbocharger is the tool to do that. Now, on this engine we have done a lot of reworks, and the turbocharger is one of the components where we've done a lot of optimizations. And on the one side we have a variable turbine geometry. So this is you have a rotating piece in the middle, and you have a second part of the turbine which is stationary, and we have a lever that is controlled by an electronic actuator that will adjust this outer part of the turbine in order to provide us the always best condition for the turbocharger to have the most efficient charging. So with this we were able we were able to increase the charging efficiency by 30%.
Oh wow, okay.
And you can take a look here, this rotating piece. I can rotate it from the back. It is connected to the compressor side. Many people maybe haven't seen the turbocharger up close like that.
Wow, I haven't certainly.
And yeah, so we can adjust the outer part of the turbine. We can really match the shape of the turbine towards the exhaust gas mass flow, and that really helps us to have a more efficient turbocharger that will then I showed you the shaft connects the turbine to the compressor wheel.
Yep.
And that will provide us the boost air from the compressor side. And yeah, with this we have increased power in the end. The turbocharger is what gives us this higher power.
Yes.
And it is actually also designed to provide this power already at lower speeds.
Okay, yeah.
So compared to the predecessor engine, we have more displacement and we have more torque. We have this engine reaches 480 Newton meters of torque from 1500 to 2500 RPM range. And we also have at 1000 RPM already 260 Newton meters of torque, which 1000 RPM is not too far from an engine idle point. So if you consider you are the driver and you just push on the pedal and you need to get going because you're on an inclined road, you have parked there, this engine will give you the torque and the acceleration that you actually need to get going.
To get rapidly up and over the hills?
Yeah, and it will give you also very consistent power. The engine's maximum power is at 135 kilowatts, and it reaches that power at 4000 RPM. So diesel engine and gasoline engine are different. We have a lower speed range, but we have higher torque.
Yes.
And the 135 is kilowatts, we meet it at 4000. But this power already plateaus a little bit earlier, so you have actually nearly full power already available at lower speeds already. So this is really an engine that has high torque in the low speeds where you really need it, because you have to get going. You imagine you have a low vehicle speed, you need to accelerate. Your engine speed normally will also be low, and you still have all the power available at the higher speed ranges.
So this sort of a function, it will allow us in many different types of off-road scenarios facing challenges like complex climbs, deep pits, muddy roads, etc. This engine can help the driver tackle them easily. Am I right?
It will, because the question will not be if you don't have enough power. You will have enough power, because diesel engines really excel at providing this low-end torque, this really high torque. So this engine gives you the ability to really have a quick start. You can you get the input from the pedal. For example, the driver puts on the pedal. The electronic actuator for the valve for the VTG, variable turbine geometry, directly responds. So it has very fast response due to having these electronic actuators. And in diesel engines you have, or in turbocharged engine, you have what we call the turbo lag, the time between the command of the driver and the boost pressure to build up. And therefore we use these electronic actuators that are very rapid response. You get right at time, you do the input, the actuator changes right away, and it really helps us to reduce this turbo lag.
Okay.
And if we want to talk further about the design of the turbocharger, we have improved the shape of the turbine blades,
Okay.
and we have done many simulations in regard to the cross section for the flow of the exhaust gas. So we get this really high charging efficiency. So that is where we were able to get to 260 Newton meters at 1000 RPM already.
Wow. Okay.
That
So
is
it's got low RPM and high torque characteristics, right?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's really what you want, and it will provide to you in any scenario. That is like if you are in this in an urban environment, or if you are in a rural environment, you need to accelerate quickly. But again, diesel engines are so durable. They are like a marathon runners, and they will run very efficiently if you're on a road trip, on a long haul trip, anything like that.
Okay. I mean, that's really good to know that it's not just a reliable choice for off-roading and adventuring, but that it is also, correct me if I'm wrong, it's also a very sound choice as a daily driver too, right?
It is,
Okay.
because it has this lower fuel consumption. And when we continue talking about different components, we'll get into that. But if you are someone that drives his vehicle a lot, you would choose a diesel engine because you can really feel it. It is really much more efficient, the combustion system.
That's really helpful to know. So for me, I'm learning a lot already. And for you out there, if you do want to learn more too, you can feel free to click on the link that's in the stream and leave your contact information, and our team will assign a customer service rep specifically to contact you. And don't worry, your personal information will be protected strictly based on regulatory policy. So don't waste another minute. Leave us a message, get in contact with us, and let's move on to the next thing. So thank you very much to our expert, Paul, for the fascinating info. Being a power guy myself, I really appreciate the great achievements of GWM Tank 300 Diesel's engine in terms of the power performance, from its powerful low-end torque output to its efficient and smooth power delivery. It really shows the deep thought, superb craftsmanship, and ingenuity of the engineers behind its design. So now I am quite eager to talk more about another key point of the turbocharger. Now, I've heard that this turbocharger, it incorporates numerous cutting-edge technologies, playing a pivotal role in enhancing the engine's performance and fuel economy. Therefore, Paul, I'd love for you to dissect this turbocharger in detail and delve into its internal structure and working principle so we can get a deeper understanding of what makes it tick together.
All right. Yeah, so I mentioned before certain features, but let's get a little bit deeper into that.
So you mentioned earlier about the electronic controlled actuator. Could you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah. So this actuator, you need to adapt the turbocharger, the turbine position, according to your needs. So we have done a lot of fluid dynamic simulations, like a very, very comprehensive analysis on what is the optimal positioning in regard to the exhaust mass flow. And we have done all these different load cases, from where you step on the pedal, you have 0 to 100%, or mid load to higher load, or any kind of change in load. We simulate these processes in order to find the optimal configuration on the turbocharger. And the electronic actuator is the one that really gives us this ability to very fastly change this the position and have the optimal position, so that we have a very high charging efficiency. That means high efficiency. That means lower losses, and that means like less fuel consumption at the end.
Yeah.
And all of these simulations that we do, we optimize the shape of the internal shape of the turbocharger to really try to achieve lower losses.
I mean, that lower losses, less fuel consumption. This is really amazing to hear when you say it, but what I want to know a little bit more, what specific advantages beyond just that can you go into detail about in relation to the actuator here?
Yeah, the actuator, it works in together with other actuators actually. So it gives you this this transient response that is really improved. When the driver steps on the pedal, the actuator will react, and we have several subsystems that we use. We have a throttle body, also electronically activated, and we have the EGR system that also needs to control the flow of EGR. And all of these actuators, they have to work well together in order to have this fast transient response where you have immediate power but reliable. And that really comes into play with these electronic actuators.
So, I mean, from the way I hear it, you would say that the electronically controlled actuator, does it have a really key role in the elimination of turbo lag that you had mentioned earlier?
It does, yes. This is the key feature, that we have this really fast response, and on average we improved this the charging efficiency by 20%, and it's really it's fast response. You will feel it. The power will be there, and you have to, of course, compare it to turbocharged engines. It's really great.
So this improvement of 20%, can you go a bit more into detail of how that is achieved? What is the mechanism specifically behind this?
The charging efficiency, we spoke about this fluid dynamics computations that we do in order to achieve an improved charging, and then you have the airflow is delivered to the combustion chamber, and you have really a high boost and high efficiency, and because of the high efficiency, also at low speeds, that's where we get those this high torque value out of. And you can really feel this forceful acceleration that when we have these 260 Newton meters at these lowest speeds. So as the customer, this is what you really feel, is this where you feel the power is at the low end range.
So you'll feel the forceful acceleration, right?
Yeah, you do, and this is really it helps us to, in the combustion process, to have a good mixture of air and fuel later in the combustion chamber.
So it sounds like the design and the layout and the shape is extremely important, and it means that actually it's not just the look. I mean, this design is extremely clever because it has to consider all these different factors, and I'm sure every single different centimeter makes a big difference, right? So how is the control strategy for this electronically controlled actuator formulated? Like, have there been numerous precise calculations and simulation tests done?
Yes, of course. What I mentioned briefly, these computational fluid dynamics simulations, we use them in order to optimize the flow, the cross-section of this housing and of the turbine. So all the load cases that you can imagine, we check which is the perfect position to have optimal charging efficiency, and the shape of the housing, and the shape of the blades of the turbine, but also on the compressor side, the compressor wheel. We make sure that this is all matched as good as possible to make a very high charging efficiency and boosting efficiency.
Okay. I mean, you said higher power efficiency, boosting efficiency. We also touched a bit on the reduced fuel consumption. I mean, this is really incredible to know that just in this one component you have all these different improvements and innovations. So thank you so much for the detailed explanation. You've provided an opportunity for all of us to get a more in-depth look into the internal structure and working principle, and also the significant performance enhancements that are brought about by this turbocharger. So this is not only allows us to have a more thorough understanding of the technical strength of the GWM Tank 300 diesel's engine, but it also makes me want to get back behind that driver's seat again and take it out on the road. So, of course, if anyone out there is interested also on testing this out and taking it out on the road, you can feel free to click on the link in our stream and leave your contact information. Our team will assign a customer service rep to get in contact with you. And don't worry, our team will strictly protect your personal information according to regulatory policy, so feel free to leave a message and get in touch with us. So with that out of the way, let's move on to another key component of the engine. Sunle, could you help us to disassemble the air inlet? Paul, could you please elaborate further on how the unique design of the, I think it's called the dual tangential air inlet in this engine benefits it significantly?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we improve many things. And from the turbocharger, which is one part of our intake system, the compressor, we go towards the manifold and the air inlet ducts. So, this dual tangential air inlets, they help us to shape the airflow. So in a diesel engine, we have a compression ignition engine. So we will compress the hot air and we'll inject the fuel and it will self-ignite. But to have an optimal combustion, we want to give a swirl motion to the air once it enters into the combustion chamber. So this dual tangential air inlet helps to really intensify the swirl field. We have increased the swirl ratio was increased by 63%. So we have let's say a faster spinning air inside the piston bowl, which is our combustion chamber. And when we inject the fuel is then transported by this airflow and spread out more evenly and more widely, and that helps us to have a faster and cleaner and more complete combustion.
So you talk about the spiral flow. From what I know, this is actually different from your typical gasoline engine, am I right?
Yeah, that's actually right. I'm surprised that you know about it.
I drive cars.
In the gasoline engine, we have the inlet is different, the valve position is different, and in the gasoline we want to have a tumble flow, like a barrel that is rolling. And when the piston moves up, it disperses this and causes a lot of, turbulence.
Okay, yes.
So we need, in the gasoline engine, we want turbulence, but in the diesel engine, we do not want the turbulence that much. We want to have this controlled, fast flow field of air in this swirl motion.
So a little bit more stability. Is that what it is?
That is it. Yeah,
Okay.
because we want to we need to calculate and time everything correctly in order to develop the power, because the combustion mode is so different with the pre-mixed combustion versus the combustion that happens when the fuel is actually entering the combustion chamber.
Okay. I mean, I really like when I hear the term stability, efficiency, performance all together in one go, and that's really great to know. And besides the highlight of the dual tangential air inlets, have they had any special optimization concepts or technologies that you guys have incorporated into, for example, the cylinder head intake port design?
Yes, we have this. In the intake manifold, we have this flow guide structure that really additionally helps to channel the air through the inlet ports into the valves to even further increase this stable flow. Because, as I mentioned, we don't want the turbulence. So this reduces the turbulence. Turbulence for us, in that sense, are losses. And we don't want them, and we want to have the airflow, the airfield be nicely guided and directed to really increase this swirl, so that we have the ability to have very clean combustion, and therefore further enhance our power output and torque output, but also reduce our fuel consumption and reduce emissions.
Reducing fuel emissions, reducing fuel consumption. These are, again, consistent and constant markers of innovation that you have continually been saying today. I'd like to take a quick moment. I see we have a lot of people here on the chat, and I'm sorry I haven't gotten to you. I've asked you to leave us a lot of messages in the meantime, but I'm coming to it now. I see Mira Luis, she says, the overall design of the engine gives a high-tech feel. It really does. Everything about it is high-tech, according to what I see, but also according to what Paul has been explaining. I see, let me see. What is the safety rating? About what? The safety rating of the car in general? Maybe if you can tell us a complete question, we can then tell you specifically. The disassembly process is very professional. Well, yeah, we have both Paul here, but also our mechanic over there has been with GWM for 18 years. Can you believe that? So moving a bit on back to our components, what specific and large impacts do these optimization measures that you've been talking about have on the engine's fuel economy and power output, specifically when it comes to practical applications?
Yeah, so the practical effect is really, as mentioned before, we can improve the flow field, and when we improve the flow field, this is one part of our combustion is the air, the other part is the fuel. So when we have this low turbulence but high speed flow field of air, this will help us to predict our combustion well. So once we do the ignition, the injection, we get a complete combustion, and the complete combustion means all of the fuel is burned. In the combustion process in diesel, you have a soot formation, but then a soot burn off, and by providing this swirl motion onto the air, it really helps us to have a complete combustion, and that also means we utilize all of the fuel. That means we have the high efficiency, but we also don't have that many emissions like soot or nitrous oxide.
I mean, that sounds like a win-win situation for both performance and environmental protection. Am I right?
It is always like what we as engineers strive for is to optimize the efficiency and optimize the environmentally friendliness.
That's really great to hear that we can have the best of both worlds, both having high performance while also being more eco-friendly. With that, if anyone watching right now is interested to know more about the GWM Tank 300, again, you can click on the link in the stream and fill in your contact info, and our team will assign you a dedicated customer service rep to contact you. Our team will strictly protect your personal information according to regulatory policy, so feel free to send us a message anytime. Now, we have just delved deeply into the numerous advantages of the engine's intake system, which undoubtedly plays a crucial role in enhancing the engine's overall performance. However, there is another equally important system in the engine's precise operations mechanism, and that is the electronic fuel injection system, which deserves our detailed exploration. So, Sunlei, could you please help us disassemble the fuel injection system, please? Thank you so much. So, Paul, what role does the electronic fuel injection system play in the modern engine technology system?
Shall we take a look? Yeah, so you have the fuel pump, which is situated here. It provides the fuel and a high pressure into what we call the common rail. It's common because it is a common fuel storage area for our 4 injectors, which are connected through these high pressure steel pipes. And these 2000 bar, the pump delivers 2000 bar of fuel pressure. and that is a high pressure. And we need high pressure in order to have a good atomization of the fuel, which means that the fuel, when it's injected, is spread out and has like very small droplets. This is crucial to have a good combustion.
So the 2000 bar high pressure common rail system, it sounds extremely essential when we're talking about effective power output. Am I right? Could you please elaborate a little bit more on its working principle and more about the benefits that it does bring to the engine?
Yeah, sure. So the common rail is, as I mentioned briefly, is this storage area for the fuel. And because we have this high pressure, constant pressure in the storage system, we can time, the injectors can time the injection, and we have a very good knowledge about the fuel quantity that we inject, because we have the stable pressure, and we have very precise systems on the injection. So that really helps us to give us a very stable combustion and very precise combustion.
So what kind of effect does this highly atomized fuel have when mixed with air, though?
The atomization is really important because you, when you inject the fuel into the air, you want to have as small droplets as possible, because you still have to mix the air, the oxygen and the fuel to have the combustion to be initialized. So the high pressure delivers that. The higher the pressure, the lower our fuel droplets are, and we call this Sauter mean diameter, which is the diameter of the fuel droplets on average. And the higher the pressure goes, the smaller our droplets are, the better our mixture is, the more complete our combustion is, the higher the efficiency is, and the lower the fuel economy, the fuel consumption is, and the lower the emissions are. So
would you say that this this allows the combustion process to also become more smooth in the end?
Yes. Because we have this very predictable conditions, it really helps us to time everything. And if you really know what's the fuel amount, what's the air amount, what's the flow field, the pressure trace, the pressure development during combustion is more predictable. And so if you don't have pressure spikes occurring at different times, you will feel that at a smoothly running engine, and that can be felt by the driver.
So it'll be smoother, more comfortable, and without these sorts of spikes, does that mean that it also could become quieter also in the end?
Yeah, it will be quieter in the sense that you don't have that roughness from the engine and vibrations that might get out of the engine into the vehicle from this one.
Okay, I mean, so quieter, more comfortable. I'm sure that this is a feature that many people would enjoy having, especially on long journeys. So besides these obvious advantages such as quieter, comfortable, efficient, does the high-pressure common rail system have any other unknown secret weapons that you could tell us about?
Yeah, maybe when we will get the fuel injector, I can show it to you. These high-pressure fuel injectors are, as we spoke, 2000 bar, and with the precise control that we have, the injector will open and will deliver a fine fuel spray, and through this control, we really can have a faster combustion, and that leads to us having less deposits being formed. And when we don't have the deposits, they will create small soot accumulation that could deposit, for example, on the piston ring or in the gap between the piston and the liner, and cause wear.
Okay.
So the clean combustion therefore further enhances engine durability and engine life, actually, because we have less wear particles in the engine.
So you're talking stable, reliable, long lifespan. You guys really do take care to focus on truly developing the diesel engine technology to improve the driving experience, right? So I really admire this goal and effort. For anyone watching right now who would like to know more about the GWM Tank 300, once again, you are more than welcome to click on the link in the stream. If you fill in your contact information, our team will assign you with a customer service representative who will get in touch with you. And we will strictly protect your information according to regulatory policy, so please feel free to leave a message to us anytime. Let me check back at some of the live stream and some of the people's messages. Well, thank you, Dipiro, for coming in to the stream. I'm sorry that you need a translator, but I would love to help out more and speak different languages. Unfortunately, I only speak English. I see, though, that you have the injector here, right?
Yeah.
So could you please tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. You can see it's kind of a massive part. If you compare it with the gasoline injector, they're normally that size. And the gasoline injectors are running normally on 200 to 350 bars. Maybe nowadays newest ones have 500 bars, but this is 2000 bar. And you can see it's quite solid. And at the top is the nozzle, where you can find very, very small holes through which the fuel is then injected. That is the rail. It's also a heavy piece because it has to contain this highly pressurized fuel. And this is the fuel pump, which delivers the 2000 bar of fuel pressure that we need in order to really control the combustion as well as we want to.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Paul. We've been able to more deeply recognize the exceptional capabilities of the electronic fuel injection system, especially the 2000 bar high pressure common rail system. Now, when it comes to enhancing performance and eco-friendly aspects of the engine, these are all pivotal pieces to the puzzle. Its fuel atomization effect and complete combustion are indeed really impressive. So I'd like to further ask you, Paul, what specific and significant benefits have these cutting-edge technologies brought us in terms of fuel economy?
In terms of fuel economy, well, this engine or this engine with this vehicle is ranked on the NEDC cycle, which is the new European driving cycle, which is a specific test standard that is used in certain markets for 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers. So if you consider the pairing of the powertrain, then the 9-speed transmission with the 2.4T engine, on the Tank 300, which is a powerful, strong, large off-road vehicle. You can see by the look, it's designed to withstand. We spoke about the ladder frame, which has a certain strength. Strength often comes with a little bit of weight because you need the materials to make it strong. So for a vehicle like this, this is a good value. And it has the engine itself, just looking at the engine, compares with 200 gram per kilowatt hour as its best operation point. And that is, as we engineers that build engines or develop engines, how we compare engines towards each other.
Okay. So based on what you said, the importance and contribution of the high pressure common rail system to fuel consumption is not to be underestimated. So besides this system, do we have any other advanced technologies to further reduce fuel consumption?
Yes, we do. So as I spoke, we looked at all the different components because it's a new engine. And we also optimized the oil pump. So normally we chose an oil pump that is a variable flow pump that will provide you the oil pressure at the low range, but at the high range it will reduce the flow per revolution in order to reduce the oil pressure to not be higher than we need it to be. So that takes lets us have less friction because this is a mechanical work that we don't need to do then. and that improves fuel economy by 0.8%. That's also very good.
So is this the 0.8%? It's from that one specific component. We're not talking about the engine as a whole, right?
One component, yeah.
So that's quite significant.
That's good, yeah. That's really good.
So that sounds amazing. And besides improving fuel economy, does this high-pressure common rail system have any other environmental benefits that we should know about?
Yes. Because we have the combination of the improved airflow and this highly efficient combustion system, we will have a very clean combustion. And with the EGR system that is just landing here, we can make sure that our emissions are low. So we can lower NOx emissions, nitrous oxide emissions, and the combustion itself is already low in soot. So therefore, in the after-treatment system, we can actually reduce it, and that means also precious metals, which are part of the catalytic converters. We have less of those, so it makes
lowers the cost.
It lowers the cost of the engine overall.
That's really great to know.
That is the oil pump.
Yeah, this is the oil pump. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell me maybe a little bit? I know that you've explained to me before about the exhaust gas recirculation. Can you explain a little bit more about that, maybe?
Well, it works. It works in combination with the airflow. So we bring back exhaust gas into the combustion chamber to lower the combustion temperature, and lowering the combustion temperature lowers the nitrous oxide emissions. And this is how it works.
Okay. So from the high-pressure common rail system to the variable displacement oil pump, and then to the electronically controlled EGR system, each technology is contributing an indispensable piece of the puzzle in enhancing the engine's performance, and also its fuel economy, and then also its environmental friendliness. Am I right?
That's right.
So the continuous innovation and application of these technologies have undoubtedly given us a deeper and more comprehensive appreciation towards this aspect of modern engine technology. So for anyone out there that's watching right now, this is the time again. You can click on the link that's in the stream, get in touch with us, fill in your contact info, and we will assign you with a dedicated customer service rep who will get in touch. We will strictly protect your information according to regulatory policy, so feel free to leave us a message at any time. So Paul, in my mind, a quiet and comfortable driving environment is a crucial factor in enhancing the overall driving experience for not just every driver, but also their passengers. So could you please elaborate on the noteworthy highlights and innovations of this engine in terms of noise control?
Yes. So it's a diesel engine. Inherent to the combustion process is that it is a little more noisier than a gasoline engine. But we, of course, have to optimize on the system of the engine. And one thing that we did is that the camshaft drive is a backlash-free camshaft drive. Backlash is if two gears have clearance and they can slap. So you'll have a gear rattle noise. The backlash-free gear makes sure that we have low noise emissions from this gear. Also the balancer shafts, which are in this frame, also have, they are also gear driven, and we also optimized on that gear. This is at the bottom of the engine, inside the oil pan, and we can also reduce noise emission from that side. Then the timing drive is a belt, and that also reduces the noise emissions. And the chain drive of the oil pump was also improved in regard to noise emissions. And the injectors, the injector fixing.
The high pressure fuel lines.
Yes, because they are injecting up to 7 times per one combustion event.
Okay.
And this is high pressure, and it's like a needle.
7 times per combustion event. How many combustion events happen per second?
It depends on the speed, but let's say the easiest to compute is 6,000 RPM per minute, makes 100 per second RPMs.
Okay.
But it's a 4-stroke, so 50 combustion events per per second. Like if you go at 3000 RPM, which is a more normal point, that you would say, okay, that is 25 full combustion cycles per second, and then you have up to 7 individual openings of the injectors.
Okay, so beyond these, do you guys have any other more passive noise reduction technologies that you've implemented into the whole system?
Yes, of course. So maybe you have seen these foam pads that are on top of around the injectors, and they are also further adapted on the engine.
So they're a form of insulation?
Yes, this is passive insulation to reduce the noise emission, or the noise transmission actually. And we have also optimized, let's say, the oil pan, where you have thinner metal sheets that could vibrate. They would get reinforced by ribs, so in order to make sure that we don't have these noise emissions.
It sounds like these noise reduction measures are quite comprehensive, with every detail being thoughtfully considered. So aside from the noise reduction in the engine itself, there's another key component of the vehicle that we can't go without discussing, especially when we are talking about noise. And that is the vehicle's exhaust system. So in which ways have you optimized the vehicle's exhaust noise accordingly?
Yeah, so I want to say we are quite proud of this engine to have this low noise emission compared to other diesel engines. And that being said, on the exhaust system, of course, we also have to fine-tune and match everything well together. So we cooperate there with external professionals to have what is the subjective feel of the noise, in order to trim the exhaust, the mufflers and everything, to have a smooth and a nicely sounding engine and exhaust.
So you have third-party people coming on in to help you reduce this noise of the exhaust, right?
Yeah, because we want to have a broad opinion on how it's supposed to be. And in the industry, there are these professionals that help us evaluate our vehicle noise.
That's interesting to learn. So a quieter exhaust system, in my mind, it would be a highly appreciated feature for not only inner city driving, but also for those long haul trips, where the last thing that you want is the exhaust system just blasting in the back and potentially giving you a headache. Let's say you're driving for 3-4 hours in a row. You don't want to have this constant ongoing loud noise, right?
Right, that is right. But I think this vehicle will do very well. I think it's just wonderful for the long haul trip. And one thing is noise emission, but the other is noise transmission. And we make sure that in the passenger cabin, it's really a comfortable ride.
So reduced noise, that's something that we love to hear, but it's not something that I want to hear from you. I want to hear some noise from everybody watching in the audience right now. So if you do want to learn more about the GWM Tank 300, please click on the link in the stream and fill out your contact info. We will assign you with a dedicated customer service rep to get in touch with you. Of course, our team will strictly protect your information according to regulatory policy, so please feel free to leave us a message anytime. And further talking about noise, it's time for us to hear a little bit more from you guys in the audience. We are going to spend some time to look at a few questions that you all have sent us, so let me go and take a look. Okay, so one of the questions I see here is somebody's asking what the torque of the GWM Tank 300 diesel is. Could you tell me more? I won't be the one to answer this.
Yeah, we covered it in the early beginning, I guess. 480 Newton meters is available at 1,500 to 2,500 RPM, which is the normal driving range of our customers, especially when you pair it with a 9-speed AT. And at 1,000 RPM, you already have 260 Newton meters, which is very close to idle. So power is immediately available.
Okay. Let me look at another question here. So what is the 0 to 100 kilometer acceleration rate of the diesel version?
Yeah, in this vehicle with this engine and that transmission, it is close to 10 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. And I think that is a very good value considering what kind of vehicle you're moving.
It's reasonable for the size and
it's
the
quick.
weight and its use.
It's quick for a non-sports car. I think this is just what enough for our customers.
That's cool. So let me look at another one. So how is the fuel economy of this engine? I know we've been talking about this a lot, but can you tell us a little bit more about that?
The fuel economy, we discussed it, is 7.8 liters per 100 kilometer in the NEDC. The NEDC has two components. So we have the outer urban area where we achieve 7 liters. And the inner city, the urban driving, where we would have, I think, 9.3 liters per 100 kilometers. So it's reasonable, and regarding the vehicle, I think this is good.
All right. I see someone is asking, when will this car be launched in Australia? So at present, and I'll take this answer, the diesel version of the GWM Tank 300 will be available in Australia around the end of March. So please stay tuned on our launch event in Australia. Moving on, let me see one more. So how is the noise control in the GWM Tank 300 diesel version? I know that we've touched on that too. Maybe someone has missed the earlier conversation. Could you please explain a little bit about that again?
Yeah, about the noise, we mentioned it, the different components that we have, like that actually can emit noise, which is the gear drives of the balancer shaft or the gear between the camshafts. The timing drive is a belt-driven timing drive. The oil pump has been optimized. The injector mounting position have been optimized, and we have, of course, the passive ways to insulate in order to avoid residual noise be transmitted into the passenger cabin.
Okay. Let's take on one last question. So I see someone's asking here, what altitude can it adapt to for driving?
Well, we test these vehicles under different conditions, and this engine still works well up to 4,000 meters altitude. This is, we're in China. And we have high altitude areas in China, and we make sure our vehicles really can handle this. So when you do testing here in China and it is satisfactory, I think most people will be able to be satisfied as well, because we have really high altitude in China in certain areas.
So thank you everyone for sending in your questions and messages. We will get to more a little bit later, but I would also like to thank you very much, Paul, for presenting us with a fascinating and insightful dissection. So you not only helped us delve into the intricate detail of the GWM Tank 300 diesel engine, but you also allowed us to deeply feel the exceptional technical prowess embodied in this engine. It is this heart which combines cutting-edge technology and superb craftsmanship that infuses the GWM Tank 300 with unparalleled off-road performance and an enjoyable driving experience. So with this, it truly stands out amongst numerous different models. So I would like to thank you very much, Paul, for coming on in, and I will see you next time.
Yes, until next time.
Thank you very much. Okay, so as we all know, a truly excellent automobile relies on more than just a powerful engine. It also needs a transmission system that perfectly complements it to ensure that the power is efficiently and smoothly transmitted to the wheels, thereby unleashing the full potential of the vehicle. Now, today on this stage filled with exploration and discovery, we are also fortunate to have invited an authoritative expert in the field of transmissions. He will take us along to unveil the intricacies of the GWM Tank 300's transmission and delve into how this transmission works in tandem with the diesel engine to jointly produce exceptional performance. This is not only a deep dive into transmission technology, but it is also an artistic appreciation of the perfect synchronicity of this automobile's powertrain system. Now, please, welcome our transmission expert, Tobias Lenz. Now, come on over here, Tobias. It's really great to see you. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
How are you doing? So, as we all know, a transmission is a pivotal part of an automotive drivetrain. Tobias, could you first give us a brief introduction to the role and types of transmissions?
Yes, of course. So better I stand directly beside the transmission.
We got a transmission right
Yes,
here.
we
Why
have
don't
one
we
here.
go and look
and
at
this
it
is
here?
exactly the transmission of this car, so we will talk about this a lot in the next few minutes. So as you said, the transmission actually is a crucial component in an automobile's powertrain. Before Paul mentioned the engine is like the heart of the automobile, so I want to say the transmission is like the brain.
Okay, yeah.
Because both together are necessary to
Yes.
work very well. So it's the main transmission, the main role of this transmission is to adapt the different driving conditions, which is starting, so launching of the car, accelerating, decelerating, turning both directions, which is also sometimes critical, climbing, uphill, downhill,
Defined.
and then for all these driving conditions, the transmission must select the correct gear that the engine can drive in a favorable operating condition. And finally, it's not only that the engine can drive in this condition, it's also to reduce the vehicle's fuel economy and also to improve the power performance. And finally, what is most important for the customer, that the ride smoothness is enjoyable. So the best transmission is always the transmission which the customer doesn't feel. So no shift shock, fast shifting, and smooth shifting.
That makes sense. And are there, according to what I know, there's many different types of transmissions. Can you kind of point us towards a few different versions?
Yes, normally we divide the kinds of transmissions in manual transmissions, so where the driver really have to work hard to shift the gear, or hopefully not work so hard. And this is the MTs and the automatic transmissions. And the automatic transmissions we then again can divide into ATs. This is widely known as the planetary automatic transmissions, like here. Then the double clutch transmissions, we call it DCT. This is also a kind of transmission which we have in Great Wall Motors as well. And then there is another automatic transmission which is called continuously variable transmission. In abbreviation would be CVT.
Okay, so fuel economy, power performance, ride smoothness, you can't have a car without considering any of these aspects. So, of course, when we are speaking of transmissions, we must mention the GWM Tank 300. Could you tell us some of the unique features of the transmission used in the GWM Tank 300? I know this you said this is the exact one that we see in this car right here.
Exactly, yes, you're right. So this transmission is a 9-speed automatic transmission. We call it 9AT in short. And this is actually, it represents the pinnacle of transmission engineering because it's the most complex transmission design, not only in terms of the hardware, which you can see already, I explain you in a moment one by one, but also in the software and calibration. This is the most complex transmission which you can consider. And actually, let's go directly into the design details. So I would like to divide this transmission in three, I always say it's 3 boxes. So it's here the first box, it's like the power head, which is the launch device here inside. Later I tell you some more details about this. Then we have the second box, this is the main transmission, I call it main transmission, so where we have the 9 gears. And then in the bottom, which you cannot see here, but is inside of the oil pan, we have the third box is the control. So the hydraulic control module and the transmission control. I will also give you some details about this later. So maybe we start with the box number 2, which is the mechanical, let's say, where really the gear shifting is happening. So as I said before, you see here, it's a classical planetary automatic transmission, which contains of 4 simple planetary gear sets. We call it simple planetary gear sets. Actually, it's not so simple. So if you make an engineering of this, you must take care of many details.
So the simple means because they are standalone?
Standalone, okay. So it's one by one. We call it PGS, planetary gear set. PGS 1, 2, 3, and 4 is behind under this gear here. So and these 4 planetary gear sets are shifted together with 2 brakes. You see it here, B1, B2, and 4 clutches, C1, C3, C1, C3, C2, C3, and C4 is here in the back. And maybe at this point, I can give you a short information how the gear shifting actually is working. So every gear, so let's say, for example, the first gear, second gear, third gear, every gear contains of 3 clutches or brakes engaged. For example, B1, C3, C4 engaged, then you have 1 gear. So, and how is the gear shifting now working? It doesn't mean that all the clutches open and then other 3 clutches close. This would need a lot of time, a lot of pressure, a lot of flow, so it would be not drivable, the car.
Yeah.
So normally, if you, for example, shift from 4th gear to 5th gear, for example, you just open the B2 and close another clutch, and then, so 1 clutch is coming. We always say it like this: 1 clutch is coming, 1 clutch is going, and then the gear is shifted. And the beauty of this multi-disc clutches is you can make an overlay, let's say, and then you really get a power shift with almost no power interruption. So this is very good for the driver, that he, as I said before, the best is he never can feel any shifting.
So you know that it's doing a good job when you don't even know that it exists, right?
Exactly. So this is one part of the good job, and another part is we must always, because before with Paul you also talked about efficiency. Also the same for transmission design. Everything is about efficiency, durability, weight, cost. So you must always consider the complete system when you design such a very nice piece of engineering. And I give you one example also for the mechanical parts. We have here in this transmission an input shaft. This is driven from here, from this side, from the launch element up to here. You see this is a very long shaft on a small diameter. And inside of this shaft, it looks very simple, but there are a lot of functions inside, not only in terms of durability, because this shaft must bear the complete input torque, of course, which is, by the way, for this transmission we have designed for 750 Newton meter input torque.
Okay.
So before you have learned that the engine has 480 Newton meter in this car, so this transmission have absolutely no problem with this engine. So because actually it's over-engineered, but we use it also in other applications.
Of course, but over-engineered means that it will be reliable in this
It's reliable, and also in other applications you will find this transmission in Great Wall in future much more.
Okay.
So, and then coming back to the input shaft, so of course the input shaft must transfer the torque, and also not only 750 Newton meter, because you can imagine due to several ratios inside of the transmission, the torque is then even higher. Yeah. So if you multiply, for example, here in the first gear set by 3, then you have directly the 2000 Newton meter or something like this.
Okay.
So this is in terms of the torque transfer of the very small shaft. But on the other hand, then in the shaft you also have very long holes, because you can imagine, so all these clutches and brakes, that they can be shifted, you need oil pressure.
Okay.
And this oil pressure must come from somewhere.
Yep.
And as you can also see, an interesting design feature is here B1, C1 and C2, they are all, we call it nested. So one is above each other. So the oil for the actuation and also for the cooling, by the way, can only come from the input shaft. So inside of this input shaft, I could tell you now 1 hour only about the input shaft, but this is maybe too much. So I believe me, so there are so many details even only in this part where you can see that this is really the pinnacle of transmission engineering.
I can really tell that you're very passionate about this. But speaking of passion, I've been looking at some of the comments that some of you have been sending us, and I would like to shout out a few of you. So I see Ruby. Thank you very much. I see you say, I love GWM. We all do. We love you. Thank you for watching our live stream. Thank you very much for Edson for being on the stream, and thank you so much for Mythal being on the stream. Again, I only speak English. I wish I knew what you said, but we really appreciate your support and your comments in the chat. So, Tobias, I know that you say you can talk for an hour, but really, I think this sort of information and this sort of knowledge is extremely important for us to know why and how this sort of seamless transmission came to be. So could you tell us a little bit more about where you were going?
Yes. So at the first, before I go into this detail, I want to also mention to you, because you already see that I'm very proud of this transmission. So actually this is the first fully developed and produced longitudinal transmission 980 in China.
Okay.
So it's a big step for the Chinese powertrain industry. And of course we are proud that we, as the engineers from Great Wall Motors, make this breakthrough in this kind of self-design. And By the way, it's not only self-designed the hardware, it's also the software and calibration is done by ourselves. Later I'll give you some more details about this. And also we are producing this transmission fully by ourselves with a very high vertical integration.
So from the beginning all the way to the end, this is just all in-house, self-made by Great Wall Motor.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
That sounds really impressive. So what other optimizations does this 9AT transmission have in terms of power transmission? And of course, we keep talking about it, fuel economy.
Yes. So this 9AT features an exceptional gear ratio spread of 8.843, which you can imagine from first gear to ninth gear. So if you have all these ratios, then you have the gear ratio spread. And of course, the first gear you need, especially in this kind of car, for the off-road feeling. So if you are off-road and need a high torque in the first gear, then the first gear must be very, very short from the ratio. And we have, additionally, we have 3 overdrive gears. So it's the sixth gear is 1, so 1 to 1. And then we have 7, 8, 9 are overdrive gears. And the ninth gear engage it at just 90 kilometers per hour. So you can imagine with the ninth gear engaged at 90 kilometers per hour or even higher speed, the engine speed will, as it is an overdrive gear, will drop down dramatically. That means for the driver at the end, noise. So because the engine speed is lower, the noise in the car is lower. And if, for example, here in China or in other countries, you drive with 120 kilometers per hour on the highway, and the engine is just maybe at 1,200 or 1,300 RPM, then you can really enjoy a very, very smooth driving. And at the end, as you said, this is not only the noise, because the driver at the end, when he goes to the gas station, he also count the money.
Yeah.
So it's all about fuel consumption.
Yeah.
So with a lower speed, the engine consumption is lower, and this also is very much supported by this transmission design.
Okay. So, yeah.
And then, if you allow me, then I would come directly to the
Of course,
actually
I mean, this is,
this is
like your baby. I don't want to interrupt you.
To the third part, because this is just, I see, maybe it's, I say it now a little bit too simple, it's just mechanics. Yeah? Also difficult, but just mechanics. But these mechanics are nothing without a device who can control the shifting.
Okay.
And this control, I mentioned it before already, I call it is here in this box. This third box is the oil pan, and inside of this oil pan is the hydraulic control module. We call it HCM because we love abbreviations. So we have abbreviation for everything.
Hydraulic control module. This is a tongue twister. Every single scientific name of these pieces is too much.
That's why we like the abbreviations.
It's much easier to say HCM.
Exactly.
So let's just call it HCM.
I must only force myself to always tell you the complete name, otherwise nobody from our audiences can understand. So the HCM is actually a hydraulic control module. I have mentioned it. So hydraulic means this module needs oil pressure, oil flow to work. I mentioned before already, with this oil pressure, the clutches are here engaged and disengaged. And of course, the oil pressure and flow must come somewhere. So we have 2 devices in the transmission, 2 pumps, of course. One is a mechanical pump, is an off-axis pump in a vane pump design. This is here directly on the input. And additionally, we have an E-pump here in this area directly, very highly integrated in the hydraulic control module. And why we have 2 pumps? So somebody can say 2 pumps is redundant. Make 1 pump and then it's enough. But you must understand, the mechanical pump here is always turning. So as soon as the engine is turning, has speed, then the mechanical pump is turning. Turning pump, this pump is with a chain drive, has vanes inside. A turning part always means losses. So if this kind of pump is big, the loss is big, which we don't want, because again, back to the point, efficiency is our point.
2 smaller pumps?
Yes. Actually, it's, it's 2 smaller pumps, but we have 1 pump which is always driven by the engine.
Okay.
Which is covering our, let's say, our fixed demand of the oil pressure and flow. And then we have an additional pump which is electronically controlled, so we can switch this on and off, like on demand. So if you don't need it, it's off, and then no power consumption. And in this case, also electricity consumption, of course, is at the end power consumption. And before we come to the next point, maybe I give you some more details about this HCM. So it's the HCM, the pumps I have mentioned. Then this HCM also need to get the strategy, so the software, and this software is in the control unit. We call it Transmission Control Unit, TCU, again another abbreviation. This is a robust overmolded design. with exceptional durability. So we have this also in this kind of design in another transmission, and we are very happy that finally we have this here integrated. And the gear shift itself is in the hydraulic module. We have valves and solenoids, and these valves and solenoids are very high dynamic. They are ensuring fast pressure build up and quick gear shift and also they must be responsive because the shift must be quick.
Yes.
Because as longer the shift, as higher is the possibility that the driver also feels something. For example, a power interruption could be like a shock. So, and then one final remark on this third box here. This very high responsive and high precision solenoids also need, of course, very clean oil because you can imagine there are very small tolerances. And if there is some wear, mechanical wear of the gears or something coming into the solenoids, then again, it could be stuck and then the shift is not successful, customer not happy. So to avoid this, we have here integrated in the oil pan, this is a plastic oil pan, we have integrated 2 suction filters. Why is it 2 suction filters? Very easy, because we have 2 suction devices, one M pump, one E pump. So we need 2 filters. And then additionally, you see here, there is a little bulb or something in the housing. Behind this, there is additionally also pressure filter to make sure that we have always the best oil quality that our transmission can have a smooth shifting. And finally, second finally, we have also integrated speed and temperature sensors, provide the real-time data for precise power control.
That sounds super essential. Talking also about essential, I mean, we can't be here without you guys. And I would love to respond to a few more of your messages. I see Maya Miller. When can we see the new GWM Tank 300 in person? Well, it depends on you. As I've said, the Australian market will see it potentially as soon as the end of March. So keep your eyes open. Thank you, Elvine Zhao, for also being on the broadcast, and thank you to Practice It also for being on the broadcast. We really appreciate everyone that takes their time to come watch us and learn together with me. So beyond the mechanical innovation, can you tell me more about its strengths?
Yes, and now I come shortly, before I tell you something about the launch element,
Sure.
I shortly come back to the in terms of software and calibration, because I mentioned before, this transmission hardware is nothing without software and calibration. Otherwise, it would be an empty transmission, and the driver must think about which clutch I must do. Impossible.
Hardware means nothing without the software that goes with it.
So it must be intelligent, let's say. So in all this intelligence, the software architecture and also the calibration capabilities have been done in-house with in-grade wall motors. That means that we can directly and also in a short term react on the customers and consumers and vehicles demand. So I mentioned before, we have several vehicle applications, so we are very flexible here. And at this point, I want to mention one thing, because before you talked a lot about validation actually.
Yes.
And Paul mentioned the high altitude and high temperature and low temperature and sand and off-road and everything. Of course, the transmission attend all this testing, otherwise the car could not drive it with the engine alone.
Makes sense, yes.
And this is also a very crucial part for the transmission or for the vehicle, that the transmission attends, because I give you one example. In the high altitude, somebody can think, okay, this is just important for the engine, because with a different atmospheric pressure, the engine must make sure that it can work properly. But at the end, the brain must help the transmission. So, for example, when we go together on high altitude calibration, then we also make sure that we maybe move the shift points a little bit up or down to make sure that really the engine also is in that environmental conditions in the best operating point. So that's why all this kind of testing is very crucial, and it also shows that we are not producing this kind of products, engine and transmission, for a niche market.
Yes.
We are producing this really for every customer worldwide, because before I come to China, I always thought 5,500 meter above sea level, nobody will driving. But it is the case.
There are many
living
places
there.
in the world that do it, yes.
People are living there, they are driving there, and they want to have a car which is reliable and also, they can trust.
Reliable, smooth, all within potentially extreme environments.
Yes.
Like, what more could you ask for,
Yes.
right?
And then I have one more good news. So this transmission is not now just now going into production with this car. So I mentioned before, we have more and more applications, and the first application went already in production more than 2 years ago.
Okay.
So we have already a big feedback from the market
So
and
it's
from
got
the customer.
a lot of time to refine and,
Yes,
and build on this innovation.
To refine and also get feedback from the market. And I must say, also the feedback is very positive so far.
Okay.
So the quality complaints are much lower than we have expected. Of course, with a new transmission in the ramp up, we expect there are some small problems. But
So how do you know what to fix if there isn't anything to fix?
there was some small things to fix, but of course we are happy if the customer is happy. Then we are.
Of course. And this is a great motto or a great goal to stand by.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really impressive to hear. And besides these features, could you tell me some other advantages, even more advantages that this transmission has?
Yes. So I talked about the gear set. I talked about the control. What I didn't talk about is actually the first box. No, so normally I should start with
there,
1, 2, 3, but now I come to 1 in the end.
Yeah.
So this is the launch element, and you can see here this we have here integrated hydraulic torque converter with a lockup clutch, and this ensures a seamless power delivery and also improved efficiency. Because you can imagine a hydraulic torque, or maybe somebody knows, a hydraulic torque converter normally, if it's open and over the complete speed range open, then the efficiency is very bad, which would be bad for the fuel consumption. That's why we have also integrated a lockup clutch that makes sure that as early as possible, but as late as necessary, the hydraulic torque converter is locked and the efficiency of the of the whole driving system is improved. Again, we must always try to improve the efficiency. So you're looking already for questions.
I'm looking because actually I've noticed that we're getting some more questions about the transmission. So I wanna get to the audience before we go on even further.
Yes.
I see one of our viewers is asking from Thailand, could you explain about which kind of the automatic transmission that is this transmission model, dual clutch, or others?
That's easy to say. This is a AT transmission. It's a planetary automatic transmission with a torque converter. It's completely different design to a dual clutch transmission.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. And again, everyone, if you have any more questions, do feel free to leave them in the chat. I will be looking at the chat every now and again, and I will get to your questions as soon as I can. So please, Tobias, you may continue on about the rest of the section number 1. So
about the torque converter, I have mentioned why we have the lockup clutch, how the lockup clutch is working, and what is the benefit for the transmission. And in this part of my explanation, I also explained that our target is to close the lockup clutch as early as possible. So
why is that?
Because we want to increase the efficiency.
Okay.
So the hydraulic torque converter itself is not efficient. So what is then the benefit to have a hydraulic torque converter? I can also say some sentences about this. Actually, this is because if you have at the launch condition a speed difference between the input and the output, then the hydraulic torque converter gives you the advantage that you have additional torque ratio within the hydraulic torque converter system. So for example, if you are with this car off-road, in the off-road terrain, and you are standing on a rock and want to climb the rock, and you need for the launch a very high torque, then the torque converter helps you. Maybe it's a ratio from 1.3 or 1.4 additional ratio to get more torque, but only for a very short moment in the launch condition.
Okay.
Or also if you have a trailer. So this kind of transmission for which this kind of car is built for, this is why we have a hydraulic torque converter. But the disadvantage is the efficiency.
Okay.
And to overcome this, we have the lockup clutch.
Of course.
And then we must also consider if the lockup clutch closes early, of course you have vibration from the engine, torsional vibration. And from the diesel engine, maybe you have even more torsional vibration. So if you close the lockup if you close the hydraulic torque converter, so lock it, then the torsional vibration directly goes into the mechanical system. And you can imagine, so if you make like this, mechanical system can really make some noise. I don't know, maybe the viewers cannot hear it, but you must avoid that you have the torsional vibration in the hardware here.
Yes.
And for this, we have here integrated in the torque converter a torsional vibration, a damper, and a centrifugal pendulum absorber. So this is also a very difficult word.
CPA?
We always call it CPA.
Yeah.
It's like a tongue breaker. So and this CPA I can also shortly explain to you. This is, you can see it here, it's a movable weight, or let's call it engineering-wise, is additional mass, and this mass is flexible here. So the mass can, depending on the speed or then on the fluctuation, can change the diameter where it is moving. And by changing the diameter, it changes the inertia of the system, and by changing the inertia of the system, the torsional vibration is damped.
Okay.
So this is a high level, how to say, this is a high level technology for improving the torsional vibrations, and by improving the torsional vibrations, we are optimizing the noise level. And I can give you also one example if we still have this time.
Yes,
So
please.
the noise level, what we can reduce is, for example, booming noise.
Okay.
So maybe if you don't know this as a source from the powertrain, you know this when you open the window in a very uncomfortable situation, and you have some brrr in the back. So, and if the car back is big, then the risk is higher. So, but the window is just to explain you what kind of noise it is. This noises can be also without the open window, can come from the powertrain, and this kind of booming noise we can avoid if we have here an excellent torsional vibration system inside of the torque converter, what we have, of course.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Tobias, for your detailed explanations. You have given me and hopefully everyone out there a much deeper understanding of the GWM Tank 300's transmission system. From the sounds of everything you said, the transmission is a huge component when it comes to the GWM Tank 300's driving experience. Every single detail has been intricately considered. Am I right? So
Yes.
speaking of these such experiences, if you would like to experience the GWM Tank 300, please feel free to click on the link in the stream, and our team will get in touch with you and will assign you with a dedicated customer service rep to get in touch with you. Our team will strictly protect your information according to regulatory policy, so please leave a message for us anytime. So moving on to something that I'm sure makes you very proud, Tobias. I heard that GWM's transmission has won a major award in China. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
And could you please share with us some details about this award?
Absolutely, and you are right, we are of course very proud of this. It's widely recognized in the industry. First and foremost, Great WM has always regarded powertrain technology as our core competency. Our first longitudinal 9AT transmission won the 7th place of the world's top 10 transmission award at the Long Pan Cup. So this award is not only a recognition of our team's hard work, of course, but also affirmation of our capability in terms of powertrain technology.
Okay, so to receive an award like this, this must mean a lot to GWM. So what do you think are the specific impacts and significances of winning an award for GWM like this?
Yes, I would like to give you 3 points.
Sure.
So firstly, winning this award is further enhancing GWM's reputation and influence in the field of powertrain technology. It demonstrates our strength in independent research and development and innovation to the industry, enhancing consumers' confidence and recognition of the product, because at the end, again, if the consumer is happy with the transmission, everybody's happy
Of
with
course,
the transmission.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I fully agree with your viewpoint. In today's highly competitive automotive market, consumer recognition and especially consumer trust are crucial. So beyond just consumer confidence and recognition, what else has this provided to GWM?
Yes, this comes to my second point. So
Yeah.
secondly, this award also brings us more market opportunities, of course. I mentioned before, we have already a bunch of applications where this transmission is inside. And as the consumer's requirements for automotive performance continues to increase, an excellent transmission has become one of the important indicators for measuring the quality of the car. Our 9AT transmission, with its outstanding performance and reliability, will attract in the future even more customers' attention and choice. And then I come to the third point. So lastly, winning this award also inspires us, of course, to continuously pursue excellence and innovation. So we will continue to increase our investment in powertrain technology, continuously launching more advanced and reliable products, and provide the customer with a more superior driving experience.
Man, that's really a great point that you made there. Incentive. It inspires GWM to continuously pursue excellence and innovation, bringing consumers more high quality and reliable products. And who wouldn't want that, right?
Yes.
So, Tobias, in today's increasingly prevalent era of new energy and intelligent vehicles, how does GWM view the development prospects of traditional powertrain technology?
Actually, this is a very good question, and it's very current, actually, because nowadays, everywhere in the newspaper and also in the television, you can see and read about new energy, intelligent vehicles, and as this is the general trend at the moment. But anyway, Great Wall Motors has never forgotten its original intention. We firmly believe that no matter how technology changes, a vehicle's powertrain performance and driving feel remain the key criteria for measuring the quality. I mentioned this now several times already,
Yes,
because we really believe in this, and every customer probably who had a transmission which was not good can agree to this sentence. Yeah, they are like the bond. So this transmission and powertrain is like the bond between the driver and the car, the source of driving pleasure, as I said. And therefore, we in Great Wall Motors, we will continue to increase our investment in all kinds of powertrain technology. Electric, of course, hybrid, of course, but also conventional, to let everyone drive better and smarter cars in the future.
And better and smarter, not just talking about these new electric ones, smarter can be even
Also
with
yes.
traditional technology.
We have learned today there is a lot of intelligence here inside.
There's a lot, yeah. A lot more than I expected in this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you, though, on this standpoint that no matter how rapidly automotive technology advances, driving pleasure is still and always will be essentially derived from powertrain performance and driving feel, right? So this will always be an indispensable standard for measuring a vehicle's quality. I really admire GWM's persistence and passion for innovating and deeply cultivating powertrain technology. This is a key factor in ensuring a positive driving experience, which is something that we all strive for. If you'd like to come and learn more and experience the GWM Tank 300 yourself, please feel free to click on the link in the stream, fill in your contact information, and our team will assign a dedicated customer service rep to contact you. Our team will strictly protect your information according to regulatory policy, so do please feel free to leave us a message anytime. So I see you want to say a little bit more, right?
I would love to say more, but I was thinking maybe our viewers, they have some more questions. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If
Well, I mean, first off, before we get to their questions, I would really like to thank you, Tobias, for your time and for coming here. Throughout the live broadcast just now, we explored the advanced technology and innovation behind the GWM Tank 300. We had a chance to appreciate the precise and intricate craftsmanship of the GWM Tank 300's diesel engine and the transmission. So while dissecting and taking a closer look at its internal structure, we were able to view and learn about the precision and engineering that went into its design. And through detailed analysis, we gained a clear understanding of how each and every component works in harmony together to deliver an outstanding driving experience. So yes, I'm sure there are lots of questions out here that we are to get to. So let me take a look at the chat and let's see who's over here. Okay, so I have a question. I see a question here. When can we see the new GWM Tank 300 in person? Yes. So we did answer this question before. Please keep an eye on our official social media platforms for detailed coverage on new car displays. It depends on which region you live in, and that's why our social media platforms will be the best source of information for you with that. I see another question here is, how about its four-wheel drive system?
Yes, that's actually a very good question, because we only display the transmission today, but of course the powertrain is even much more than the transmission.
Of course, yes.
So of course the Tank 300 as a pure off-road vehicle have a four-wheel drive system which can automatically switch the drive modes according to the different road conditions and has a strong off-road capabilities. And I want to show you, so here in this area at the output of the transmission, normally there is the transfer case. We call it transfer case or TOD. So this transfer case is the distribution of the torque to the rear axle and to the front axle. So from this transfer case there is a shaft then to the front axle, and then to the back to the rear axle. So this is a pure four-wheel drive powertrain.
So it's really suitable for its off-road environments that we want to take it into, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me move on. Let me see another question over here. Okay, so does anyone know how many cylinders the engine of the GWM Tank 300 diesel has?
Yes,
so
actually this
you would know this better than
me.
me.
Probably this is the best question for Paul, but I listened very carefully before, so I can answer it. So it's equipped with a 4-cylinder diesel engine, and this engine has really a very high reliability.
High reliability, stable, high fuel economy, efficiency.
Yes.
These are all ongoing points that we've been hearing all day today. So thank you very much for that. Let me see another question right here. So is anyone concerned about whether it is convenient to replace parts of the GWM Tank 300 diesel?
So
yeah, sure. I can cover that one. I mean,
because I'm of course not concerned.
You're on the technical aspect. Let me go with this one. So GWM has done a relatively good job in after-sales service. So most parts are relatively easy to obtain and replace. I hope that answers your question. Let me take one more over here. Okay, so what is the weighting depth of the GWM Tank 300? Now this has to do with extreme conditions,
yes,
right?
And this is a very good question because this also suits to the purpose of this car very well, because as I said before, maybe in other cars you are talking about weighting depth, but our customers are really driving through the deep water.
Yeah.
So the weighting depth in this car reaches 700 millimeter. So 70 centimeter, which is relatively safe when passing through soils and water-locked sections. And I want to mention, as I said, the customer not only do this, driving this kind of conditions, also we in our validation, as Paul and I mentioned before, we are really testing this to make sure, because you can imagine if water goes into the engine, will be a disaster. And you can also imagine in this transmission, we have a very low viscosity oil. If there's water coming in, then it's an emulsion, and then directly the clutches will have a problem and slipping. And this is
a super important feature
exactly.
to have.
And for this car, we must test this, and we did this. Yeah. And it's also fun to test this, by the way.
I'm sure, and I would love to be involved in the testing sometime.
Yeah.
So let me take on one more question before we move on. When will this car be launched in Thailand? So similarly to the Australia market, currently the diesel version of the GWM Tank 300 will be available in Thailand around the end of March. So please keep an eye on what's happening, and we look forward to meeting you in person there. So moving on to more about the powertrain combination of the GWM Tank 300, the 2.4T diesel engine paired with this beautiful 9AT transmission, the heart and the brains, undoubtedly forms the core of its outstanding performance. The 2.4T diesel engine has earned repeated praise for its powerful output, its economical fuel consumption, and its exceptional noise control technology. Meanwhile, the matching 9AT transmission with its smooth gear shifts, wide gear ratio, as you said, and the efficient transmission performance, it brings the engine's power to its fullest potential. This powertrain combination not only demonstrates the power of technology, but also elevates comfort and driving pleasure to a brand new height. It allows us to deeply feel the perfect fusion of efficiency, power, and elegance. So in the end, the GWM Tank 300 demonstrates what true driving artistry is, seamlessly blending technology with comfort. Finally, I would like to extend many thanks to our expert team, Tobias, and thank you, Paul, for coming here today. With your profound knowledge and extensive practical experience, you have presented us with an amazing plate full of knowledge. You not only helped us analyze the subtleties of the GWM Tank 300's 2.4 diesel engine and the Great Wall Motor's first self-developed longitudinal 9AT transmission, you also led us into a world of understanding what it takes to create a full and exciting off-road driving experience for consumers. So it makes me want to get back behind the wheel of the vehicle and take it out into the wild once again.
The next time we drive together.
Oh, I would love to. And I want to, can we test it through some water?
Yeah, should be.
So during this live broadcast, Paul and Tobias, they not only revealed the mysteries of automotive powertrain technology, but they also gave us a more intuitive and profound understanding of off-road driving. Through vivid examples and detailed data, they showed us the exceptional performance of the GWM Tank 300 when facing extreme road conditions such as steep mountain roads, muddy swamps, and rugged deserts, allowing us to deeply appreciate the off-road and adventurous spirit embodied in this model. At the same time, I would also like to thank everyone who has been viewing our live broadcast. It was your enthusiasm and your active interaction that made this broadcast even more enjoyable and lively. I appreciate your enjoyment and interest in exploration and discovery. With every question and comment that you made, they were the greatest support and encouragement for us. I sincerely hope that through this broadcast, everyone not only learned about automotive powertrain technology, but was also deeply attracted, like me, to the charm and challenges of off-road driving. In the future, we will continue to bring you more exciting content about automotive technology, especially in-depth analyses and practical tips on off-road driving. We look forward to exploring the infinite possibilities of the automotive world together with you and witnessing the rapid development of the automotive technology and the unlimited charm of off-road driving. So thank you once again for watching and supporting us. Let us maintain our love for off-road driving and curiosity about automotive technology. Continue to follow and learn about related knowledge and jointly witness and experience the passion and fun of off-road driving. Goodbye, and I hope to see you all again next time. Thank you so much, Tobias.
Thanks, Kyle.
And thank you very much, everyone. We will see you next time. Goodbye.